indeed, in this presentation, I would like to give you some concrete examples. This is not a theoretical course that I want to give you, or methodology on how positive economy can reconcile companies with environmental challenges. Before we start, a few words on Oliver Wyman. We are the third or fourth strategy consultants. We're quoted on the stock exchange, and we have a lot. We're members of Marsh and McLennan, who are on the stock exchange. We are part of those who handed in a report to François Hollande this weekend. The first message was to tell you that positive economy meant that we could go beyond the corporate social responsibility of companies. Corporate social responsibility is not limited to the social objectives of a company, and this is why it creates a lot of problems. And this is why you see there's been a report in the EU. And what they said is what European citizens believe, and it says that there's not that much impact. Things have not changed in the past 10 years, and they even challenge the good faith of companies when they deal with CSR, corporate social responsibility. And the other example I want to give you is a true story. It shows how corporate social responsibility, CSR, comes into play. I'm referring to an industrial company. They were looking for new markets in the eastern countries, and they wanted the countries where these plants were, they wanted them to use their steam. So they were going to heat public buildings, schools, hospitals. But then a problem. After 2008, they needed to close down a certain number of plants, to mothball them, and to bring down the value of these plants. So how can you explain to the towns where you are that you're going to stop? It's the winter, and we're not going to heat hospitals and schools anymore. As far as we are concerned, positive economy should align its objectives, its CSR objectives, and management of the environment with its economic interests. And three major types of actions take place. That you drop costs by bringing down your energy consumption. You relocate companies also, or you create opportunities for new revenues, new businesses for the company. The first example that we can give you is a traditional one. And since the beginning of times, companies are into sustainable development by trying to bring down their costs for energy production, their energy consumption, and their waste. And the OECD perimeter has shown that the potential of environmental type gains, in other words, the capacity to save millions of tons of CO2 in carbon footprint, and therefore the impact, positive impact for companies is huge, no matter what type of industry. We gave you a couple of examples for the manufacturing companies, management of waste, transport and logistics, energy. You have a few examples. I don't need to tell you more. That you've got it all on the screen. Just one particular example. I could give you thousands. And as I said, you find that since the beginning of times. This is one case we chose because a lot of companies do what you do, and they insulate their ceilings and their roofs and so forth. And this is the insulating of the injection molding arm for plastic injections in the automotive industry. This is a supplier for the automotive industry. And what you can see here is that what you need to do is simple enough. You just need to insulate. And the return on investment is huge because in less than a month, you can reimburse your investment in the energy insulation materials. Another example, it is Rossignol who makes skis. A very well-known case. It was covered in 2012 because a lot of people during the presidential pre-election visited Rossignol establishment. Rossignol skis had a lot of problems in the past in terms of economic profitability. They decided with their new management to relocate part of their skis, the junior skis, in Taiwan. If they decided to do that, it's not because they were pleased to do that, but because there were some very rational reasons to do that. First, because you needed to manage seasons and the weather. There are years with snow and years without snow. When there is a lot of snow, the demand is high, and you need to be able to supply the right skis at the right time. And for that, you need to be close to production places. And also, you need R&D to be close to industrialization, because a company like Rossignol is well known for its technological know-how. And so the industrial phase is always complex. The plants need to be close to the R&D sites. And then finally, bringing back the ski production from Taiwan back to France was also that the production cost or the labor cost was not that huge. The impact on the production cost was not huge. And so they were able to bring down their production costs by 10%. They were able to develop a new range of skis. They couldn't have done that if the ski production had still been based in Taiwan and not in Sallanches, right next to Chamonix. And the third result, a positive result, which is definite gain, which had not been expected, was the made in France aspect. It wasn't why they did it at the beginning, but the people were pleased with this made in France product. And then the footprint assessment was far better because you didn't need to produce in Taiwan and then ship back to Europe. And then they hired 37 people, which is huge in terms of the number of hires if you look at the number of people total at Rossignol. This means that extra revenue was created. Take the case of a major world player chemical producer, and this major company has always had a very important sustainable development approach. You all know, obviously, that chemistry and chemical industry has really a difficult situation because it's a dangerous job and has a poor reputation. And the strategy set up was to make sure that this constraint, namely be respectful of the environment, should become an asset. What they did was set up an action plan with a three-tier approach. First, be in compliance with the legislation and be in compliance everywhere, but go beyond. Align all the plants throughout the world, selecting the strictest requirements and apply them everywhere. In other words, the European requirements that are stricter than elsewhere. So that was the first level of this opportunity, tower of opportunities. So it means compliance. The second level of this tower of opportunities was to work on renewable, sustainable ranges using fully renewable energies. We have biosourced is not always available, but we need recycled raw materials and biosourced raw materials. And the third tier of opportunity was to create new products that would be solutions, sustainable development solutions for their customers, and telling them how to use them inside their know-how for new markets, but namely the market for sustainable development, depollution, water processing, reasoned agriculture, ground cleaning. They worked at the time of Fukushima, telling how they could work on products to sort out the most radioactive components that are coming out of Fukushima. So that was an opportunity for them. This type of action also means that you can create new companies. And to close, I'd like to give you the two examples. The first one, I think Mr. Attali must be familiar with this. It's called Seventh Generation, and it's based in the US. And they developed a philosophical concept, in fact. Seventh Generation is a concept that is from the Iroquois Indian tribe. They say that any decision taken or any action must be beneficial to the seventh generation. In other words, beyond 140, 150 years. So you don't use sequoia to burn in your furnace or a fireplace because it takes 2,000 years for a sequoia to grow. So seventh generation was created at the end of the 80s, and they adopted this philosophy and developed a certain number of products, personal care, cosmetics, as well as home products for detergents and so forth, and they are leaders in the U.S. right now in this area. The last example I'd like to give you is a brand new company from Toulouse in the south of France, Pick and Go, recreating pallet jobs, or in other words, making pallet jobs more glamorous. How, and through sustainable development and positive economy, they reinvented the pallet production, management of pallets and pooling services using plastic pallets based or made with high-density polyethylene. This type of cap that is recovered from most companies, those pallets are made out of plastic waste. And their innovative management is such that they are then traced with chips. In terms of sustainable development, what is the result? There are huge benefits. It's the use of recycled plastic waste. You save wood, and particularly processing this pallet wood. In terms of food, health and safety, remember the scandal a few years ago of phenol on pallets in a well-known soda manufacturing plant? So plastic means that there's best use and best health and food safety, also health and in occupational health and safety. There's less loss because of the chips. We all know and have seen pallets lost in the woods and somewhere. And that's all thanks to the RFID tracing. And then they created this French company in Toulouse. They're booming away and have a very positive EBITDA. Through these concrete examples, I hope that I demonstrated for all of you that it is important to place economic interests of all companies and society priorities side by side. It will be the only way for companies to be able to be successful. Thank you very much.